Welcome, it's Charter Local Edition. My name is Brad Pomerantz, and we are joined today by John Moorlach. He is a member of the California State Senate. Sir, all I can say is congratulations. A tremendous victory in a special election. Some call it an upset, others call it expected. Talk to us about the election.
Well, I guess I could say thank you, I think.
I think, right. That we'll talk about in a second, whether it's a good thing. Be careful what you wish for.
I was asked by a lot of my friends to run. I thought I was sort of done with public service.
You had been, for our viewers statewide, a member of the Board of Supervisors for 8 years, treasurer in Orange County for 12. You had done your stint.
Predicted the bankruptcy back in '94.
And big deal.
In 60 books. And it was just a great life.
Sure.
But so many said, you ought to run. And so we said, okay, fine, we'll do that. I polled way ahead of the other main opponent, a sitting assembly member. So the joys of being way ahead is that they lie about what you do.
Of course.
And you know, the hit pieces were a little over the top. Really hurt what I would say hurt the Republican brand. But that's what you got to do when you're getting beat. And so it was not a fun campaign. And so as you spend all that money to narrow the gap, it was effective. You know, I had one lady call me and said, "I'm reading here that you're going to get a pension from the county of more than $100,000. And I said, "Ma'am, if that were true, I wouldn't be running for this office. I'd be on the beach." I mean, what in the world? So that was the kind of stuff that was being thrown at me, but it sort of backfired. And so the absentees voted and gave me almost 50% of the vote. But the election day voters, you know, put me over the top.
So no runoff.
So no runoff, which was a real gift.
But let's talk about this. You went from a board of 5 where you were arguably in the majority. I mean, it's a fairly Republican board. It's a nonpartisan office, but we'll call it that. And you've entered a body where the Democratic Party has a pretty significant majority, not a super majority as we know it. And so look, you're an affable guy, but that being said, you're still in the minority party.
I'm getting along with all of my colleagues, all 39.
I'm not surprised.
And I'm having fun and building relationships, but there's no argument that they vote in lockstep. And there is a discipline there. And it's a little different than the Republican Party, where we're a little more independent. We can vote however we want. But if you don't vote in line on the Democratic side, there are repercussions. And so they're not afraid to run another Democrat against you. So it's sort of fun to watch how they vote.
But at the same time, I'm wondering if you're enjoying working with Jerry Brown, who some have called the best Republican governor the state has seen in decades.
Well, Jerry,
and I jest, but you know what I'm getting at.
We're taping at Long Beach State, and I graduated from here, and Governor Brown signed my diploma. Way back in 77, 78. So when he was AG, he and I worked on a project. So we're on a first name basis. We've had fun on pension reform, working together on that. So it's nice to work with him. I voted for his budget and defend his policies. He is the adult in the room, and he's not afraid to veto some you know, the crazy stuff.
But it does seem interesting. You know, a few years back, Schwarzenegger, a Republican, Governor Schwarzenegger, was working a lot with Democrats, whereas now Governor Brown, it's more kind of a wink and a nod, but he's the one that seems to be holding the fiscal line.
Right, and unlike Arnold, Jerry is a schmoozer. He talks, he meets with you. Arnold, you know, he didn't know your name. Well, we realized really soon that bodybuilding is not a team sport.
No, it's not. So let's talk about the budget, because obviously this is one of your areas of expertise. Like you said, you predicted the Orange County bankruptcy in the 90s, and fiscal discipline, fiscal governance is one of your, I mean, you're passionate about it. Not many people are, but you're a CPA.
I'm an accountant.
And you're an accountant. And so talk to me about what you're trying to do to bring some discipline with regard to fiscal matters to Sacramento.
Well, we've just approved, the Senate and the Assembly approved the largest budget in state history last month. So, but and everybody says, well, you got all this extra money, but we're still looking for money for repairing roads, and we're looking for money to deal with Medi-Cal.
And you're talking about the special sessions that are going on.
And I'm on one of those subcommittees to figure out how to tax you even more, which is really odd, because when you look at our balance sheet, we are 117 billion upside down. When you look at the unrestricted net assets, which is actually a net deficit, we're maybe 280 billion upside down in our pension system at CalPERS. We have
Which, now,
CalSTRS,
that-
we have
that
retiree
feels-
medical, we
that-
have unfunded
Right.
mandates for road repair. We are so deep
But let's
in the
talk
hole.
about the unfunded mandates, because that feels, or unfunded liabilities, I should say, that feels more digestible. The prior statistic, it's more accounting, if I can use that term.
Yeah.
But it is true that we have hundreds of billions of dollars of money we are going to owe.
Right.
We know that without a doubt. And so, as you know, Governor Brown has been looking to pay down that debt. I mean, again, that's maybe a different column than the unfunded liabilities. So what do you hope to bring? I mean, we know that Proposition 2 passed, which was the rainy day fund. That should bring that along.
Good initiative.
Right. So where do you go from here on these issues?
If you've got a problem that has 5 components,
Right.
you don't fix them one at a time. So you don't start
Well, why
taxing
not?
management care organizations to fix the Medi-Cal problem, and you don't start increasing VLF fees or vehicle license
But
fees,
on the
registration
managed
fees.
care issue, I mean, at some level, the state may not have a choice. I mean, the federal government has said the way you're funding is impermissible, so they got to find funding somewhere.
Right, but you don't all of a sudden then tax a managed care organization that doesn't do any Medi-Cal and tell them next year you're paying $74 million in new taxes.
So what's I mean, your point's well taken. What's the answer? These are serious problems.
Well, I'm glad you asked.
You
'cause
please.
I do have the answer.
Go.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
okay, but
real simple. If we have a budget that's below what the legislative analyst office is projecting in revenues, there's a delta that's coming from somewhere. And if that's $1 billion, then why don't we use that billion for the managed care organizations as opposed to taxing someone else? Half of our children in this state are in Medi-Cal.
Right.
1/3 of our state is in Medi-Cal. 60% of our state is at the poverty level or below. What are we doing to this little sliver of people that are left? If we keep taxing them, we're inviting them to move out of the state. Then what happens? We implode. And so we've got to find, it's like the old phrase of taxation is you got to pull feathers off a bird, but not so many feathers that the bird doesn't fly anymore.
Let me ask you about one of your colleagues, Mr. Hertzberg, Bob Hertzberg. He's looking at a tax reform proposal that would change the way we tax. He's looking specifically at sales tax. And what he is looking to do is lower the sales tax, but spread it out in terms of its applicability. What do you think of that?
I think it's something that needs to be discussed. I'd like to be on that committee.
Sure.
Because
I bet you
of
can
my
be friends with
background.
him. I mean, I could see
Senator
you two-
Hertzberg and I get
Yeah,
along quite well.
I
We've
can
known
see
each
that.
other long
Yeah.
before I
Right.
got up to Sacramento. But he wants to tax professional services, so
Right.
now lawyers, attorneys.
Sure.
But for some reason,
Let's tax the lawyers.
doctors are immune.
Yeah.
So I said, well, wait a second. The growth industry is medical. Healthcare is the growth industry. Why are we not then having a sales tax on prescription drugs and on doctors? So
Do you see-
that's dangerous territory. I'm going to get criticized once this show goes on the air. But it's like, why don't you talk about everything? Why are you limiting it to certain
But do you
professions?
believe that conversation will progress? Because look, he's a powerful force. You're a powerful force. Is there a way to really? Because look, how many years have we been talking about tax reform in Sacramento, and nothing has gotten done? Nothing.
Nothing.
So, do you think
And
that
we haven't barely learned to
Right.
figure out what a cycle is.
have we captured the moment for tax reform?
It could happen next year. Something could happen. It should happen. We've got to figure out how to deal with it, because only the governor seems to realize there are cycles, because he's lived long enough, to know that this goes on.
He is John Moorlach. He
Thank
is
you,
a new
Brad.
member of the California State Senate. My name is Brad Palmers. This is Charter Local Edition.